Silence that heals, finding ourselves in the noise of the digital world.
Chapter 1. The Digital Clamor. We live in an era of unceasing stimulation. Smartphones buzzing with notifications, social media feeds refresh endlessly, and AI-generated content awaits at every swipe. This digital clamor has become our constant companion, fragmenting attention and replacing quiet reflection with perpetual motion. In such a world, many feel a sense of mental exhaustion or cognitive fatigue that scholars call brain rot. Brain rot, the Oxford Dictionary's 2024 word of the year, describes a state of emotional desensitization and cognitive overload from endless, low-quality digital media. Doom scrolling and binge-watching now dominate daily routines, leaving little room for calm thought. As content floods our senses, our brains chase one quick hit of stimulation after another, trading deep focus for fast dopamine fixes. In this noisy landscape, our capacity for attention is under siege. Studies show that exposure to endless streams of information, be it news alerts, social feeds, or videos, can impair memory, attention span, and decision-making. Psychologists speak of information overload, where the mind cannot process the incessant inputs and becomes fatigued. Cognitive psychologists note that multitasking with digital devices actually reduces learning and increases error rates. Our brains are simply not wired to do everything at once. Each incoming message or app alert resets our focus, like monkeys interrupting each other's grooming sessions, making sustained concentration nearly impossible. In effect, the constant ping of our devices hijacks our attention. As we wake each day and plug into the network, we rarely pause to consider the toll of this cacophony. Noise at work, home, or on the street, even when subtle, raises our stress levels and triggers fight-or-flight signals in the brain. The World Health Organization links chronic noise pollution to higher cortisol, or stress hormone, levels, disrupted sleep, and poorer cognitive performance. Yet silence has become a rare commodity. True quiet is often confined to specialized laboratories or anechoic chambers, rooms designed to absorb every sound. In an anechoic chamber, people can literally hear their own heartbeat and blood flow. Many cannot endure more than minutes at a time. This underscores how starved our overworked brains are for relief. Despite this, scientific findings suggest that stepping into silence is far from empty or idle. The absence of external stimuli allows the mind to recover, regenerate, and even grow. As we will explore, periods of genuine quiet can spark creativity, improve focus, and even physically rewire our brains. In the chapters ahead, we will unravel the neuroscience of silence and noise, examine how our brain chemistry is shaped by technology, and discover practical ways to reclaim quiet in a loud world.
The smartphone is the modern-day hypodermic needle, delivering digital dopamine for a wired generation. Each swipe, like, or notification floods our visual cortex with stimuli programmed to catch our eye. Social media, in particular, amplifies the feel-good properties of human connection, triggering large dopamine surges akin to a drug high. Our brains evolved to release dopamine when we bond with others or notice something novel. Today's AI-driven feeds exploit that by constantly presenting slightly new content, a new friend comment, a trending meme, or a freshly generated video, all engineered to set off dopamine receptors. Even mundane cues, a simple red dot on an app icon, or a text tone, become Pavlovian triggers. We learn to equate checking our phones with emotional relief or excitement. Over time, this loop becomes a habit. Scroll for dopamine, get brief pleasure, then crash into a low dopamine trough. The danger is that this wired pleasure loop is insatiable. Neuroscience shows that repeated spikes cause the brain to adjust by reducing its natural dopamine output. In other words, we need more stimulation to achieve the same high. The text message that once thrilled us becomes mere background noise after a few months. This is why Dr. Lemke and others talk of a chronic dopamine deficit from constant tech use. The more digital candy we consume, the duller life feels without it. Moreover, our social drives are being drugged into overdrive. Moving in tribes was once essential to our survival, so our brains reward social connection with dopamine. Social media apps have drugged this natural instinct by magnifying social cues, likes, follows, comments, to deliver an instant hit of pleasure. Each like provides a tiny hit of validation, reinforcing the behavior. Over time, many people find themselves compulsively refreshing feeds just to feel that rush again. A phenomenon confirmed by brain imaging studies showing that each notification lights up the brain's reward centers. This dopamine loop not only fosters addiction, but can amplify anxiety. The constant novelty requires constant attention, an endless fear of missing out, or FOMO, which can overwhelm our coping capacities. When we finally log off, our brain often plummets into a dopamine crash as it struggles to adapt to baseline levels. No wonder we feel jittery, restless, or even depressed when alone with our thoughts. In sum, digital devices have become ever-present dopamine dispensers that keep our brains perpetually activated. Understanding this chemistry is the first step to breaking the cycle.
Requiring deep focus, planning, and memory retention. Cognitive scientists refer to this hit as extraneous cognitive load, the useless mental effort wasted on toggling rather than on the task at hand. So what happens in our brains under relentless digital bombardment? Studies have found that heavy consumption of fragmented, snackable content correlates with poorer attention and working memory. In the brain rot study of modern media habits, scientists observed that overexposure to low-quality online content leads to cognitive overload and a negative self-concept. Executive functions, the brain's management skills, like planning and decision-making, weaken under such strain. One consequence is mental fatigue. The brain literally wears out from continual input. Symptoms can include fuzzy memory, shorter attention spans, and difficulty solving problems. Our neural hardware wasn't designed for millions of digital comparisons each day. A 2019 study warned that bombarding the brain with too many choices and stimuli leads to faster depletion of willpower and clarity. Psychologists liken information overload to drinking from a fire hose. Too much data triggers anxiety as the brain struggles to filter noise from signal. This can lead to a paradoxical analysis paralysis, where even simple decisions become difficult under the weight of overanalysis. In one word, constant digital engagement often leaves us disconnected from ourselves. Meanwhile, other cognitive costs emerge. Sleep suffers when the mind is continuously churned. Even light exposure from screens can disrupt circadian rhythms, but more importantly, the mental arousal from scrolling keeps the brain in an alert state long after the screen is off. The prefrontal cortex, seat of reasoning, may get overloaded with trivia and entertainment, leaving less bandwidth for introspection or learning. In summary, cognitive science and neuroscience warn us that our information diet matters. Just as eating too much junk food can sap physical energy and impair health, consuming too much surface-level information can degrade mental energy and focus.
Neural growth in the hippocampus, the region involved in memory and learning. Compared to mice kept in normal background noise, those that spent time in silence developed more new neurons, as marked by RBDU-NU, cells within a week. This striking finding suggests that the absence of auditory stimulation can actually promote neurogenesis, the birth of new brain cells. In other words, silence can have a gardening effect on the brain's plasticity. The human brain responds to silence in similarly profound ways. Modern neuroscience finds that when external noise stops, the brain shifts gears. Cortisol and stress hormone levels drop, heart rate and blood pressure fall, and the mind can enter a restful state. University studies have shown that stepping away from stimuli, even for a few minutes of quiet breathing, lowers blood pressure and calms the sympathetic fight-or-flight system. During silence, the brain's default mode network becomes active. This network is associated with introspection, daydreaming, and self-reflection. When the outside world quiets down, our minds gain space to wander and make novel connections. Famous experiments demonstrate that people often have creative breakthroughs or deep insights in quiet solitude. Silence also seems to sharpen our other senses. In the absence of noise, the mind heightens awareness of internal cues. Subtle thoughts, emotions, and sensations become more noticeable. This heightened mindfulness may explain why meditation, sensory retreats, or simple practices like a quiet walk can make us feel more alive. Over time, regular silent breaks improve focus. Just as clearing out noisy apps makes a computer run better, clearing out mental clutter lets attention return to what truly matters. In labs and anechoic chambers, individuals report that after initial discomfort, silence brings a sense of expanded awareness and calm. Even ordinary libraries or nature trails, relatively free of urban noise, are shown to improve concentration and memory in study participants. Collectively, this science paints silence not as a void, but as a restorative force. In the words of a researcher, moments of silence actively transform the brain. It's a stimulus for recovery, stimulating growth in memory-related regions, reducing amygdala-driven stress, and allowing the brain's innate reset mechanisms to kick in. Far from being wasted time, silence becomes a kind of mental hygiene, necessary for optimal neural function in the information age.
Thickness in the hippocampus and decreased volume of the amygdala. The hippocampus is linked to memory and emotional regulation. Its growth suggests improved learning and empathy. The amygdala is the smoke alarm of the brain, responsible for fear and anxiety. Its shrinkage reflects reduced stress and reactivity. In short, mindfulness, a form of deliberate quieting of mental chatter, can literally temper the brain's threat response and bolster its learning centers. These findings illustrate neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change with experience, in action. We are not fixed entities. Our neural circuits can be strengthened or rewired throughout life. When we practice silent contemplation, whether through meditation, prayer, or simply sitting peacefully, we encourage new pathways. Science shows that even brief mindfulness exercises can produce immediate benefits. Blood pressure dips, cortisol falls, and a sense of calm follows. Over weeks and months, these moments accumulate, building what some call a silent resilience in the nervous system. Furthermore, silence fosters a sort of mental cleaning. Like sanding rough wood until it's smooth, turning inward quiets the rumbling complaints of the stress-centered amygdala. It allows higher brain regions, like the prefrontal cortex, to regain control over the impulsive fight-flight reactions. Cognitive psychologists note that even acknowledging our feelings in silence, giving them words or images, helps the brain process stress. This is why journaling or mindful breathing in quiet settings can significantly reduce anxiety and depression symptoms. Moreover, cultural and spiritual traditions across the world have long honored silence as healing. Monastic orders, desert hermits, and meditation masters from many societies emphasize periods of silence for clarity. Modern science is catching up to this wisdom. For example, people who engage in regular silent retreats often report improved focus, creativity, and empathy, all indicators of healthier brain function. In practical terms, achieving silence need not mean locking oneself in an anechoic chamber. Listening exercises, even using noise-canceling headphones, quiet walks in nature, or simply muting devices for a few minutes can initiate the same processes. AI-driven apps now even exist that guide people into silent meditation or biofeedback sessions, blending cutting-edge technology with ancient stillness. Yet whether guided by gadget or willpower, the core remains the same. By turning off the digital noise, we allow our brains to find their own natural rhythm of rest and growth. Chapter 6. AI, Friend and Foe. Artificial intelligence is reshaping our world at breakneck speed. On one hand, AI tools can act as personal assistants, therapists, or creative partners, helping us organize life and even manage stress. On the other hand, they also risk adding another layer to our noise. The impact of AI on our mental, silent space is double-edged. Recent psychology research highlights this paradox. AI enables unprecedented cognitive offloading, that is, delegating tasks to external systems to free up our mental load. Using AI-driven reminders, predictive suggestions, or automated analysis can indeed conserve effort. For example, language translation, automated scheduling, or fitness tracking apps can handle routine details, theoretically giving us more mental bandwidth for meaningful tasks. Therapeutic chatbots can provide comfort anytime, and AI-tailored meditation programs can guide introspection more easily. These advances sound promising for wellness. AI can even bolster empathy training or mindfulness by providing prompts or simulations when we need them. However, the same technology can also erode our inner quiet. AI systems are designed to learn from us and keep us engaged. Recommendation algorithms feed us one suggestion after another, often based on our past behavior, making the stream of content even more personalized and captivating. As one study warns, reliance on AI can lead to an erosion of introspection, over-reliance on algorithmic feedback, and anxiety induced by hyper-monitoring. In practice, this might look like a meditation app that constantly pushes new modules, or a productivity tool that alerts us endlessly. Even our own self-tracking can become a source of stress when a device buzzes to tell us we need to sleep better or move more. Moreover, AI could change how we relate to silence itself. If every moment of discomfort prompts an algorithmic fix, for example, an app suggesting you do a breathing exercise at the first sign of tension, we might lose opportunities to sit with ourselves and build natural coping skills. Over time, this could weaken our innate resilience. We must ask, when we outsource self-awareness to machines, do we also lose some connection to our own inner voice? Finally, consider misinformation. Generative AI flooding the internet with deepfakes and synthetic media can amplify the sensation of noise. People may feel compelled to fact-check or debate constantly, never getting a mental breather. The line between reality and pixel becomes so thin that even silence can seem uneasy. In sum, AI is neither inherently good nor evil for our peace of mind. It magnifies the tendencies we have. It can create calm by doing our bidding, or create chaos by doing too much. The critical factor is design and choice. AI tools tailored to support mindful practice, for example, those that gently dim screens and schedule tech-free breaks, could enhance our quiet. But those designed only to maximize engagement will worsen our cognitive load.
Activity. For example, animal studies of brain injury find that after trauma, silent rest periods help neurons re-establish connections. The hippocampus, a seat of memory and learning,
continues to generate new cells throughout life, more so when we give it a break from external demands. Similar principles apply to psychological injuries like chronic stress or depression. Therapeutic retreats into quiet, safe spaces have been observed to increase markers of neurogenesis in rodents. Silence also impacts the equilibrium of neurotransmitters. After prolonged social media use or gaming, the brain's dopamine system may be dysregulated, requiring more stimulation for pleasure. By contrast, intentional quiet time can help rebalance neurotransmitter levels. Anecdotally, people report that after a week of unplugging, foods taste richer, walks feel more vivid, and small joys feel profound again. Neurologically, this likely reflects a recalibration of reward pathways. With fewer spikes, baseline dopamine levels can gradually return to normal. Another regeneration aspect is brainwave entrainment. In silence or deep relaxation, the brain tends to shift from high-frequency beta waves, alert, busy thinking, to alpha waves, calm focus, or even theta waves, deep meditative states. These states are associated with healing and memory consolidation. Theta waves in particular arise during sleep and deep meditation. Practicing periods of quiet reflection can encourage these slower waves, enabling the brain to strengthen key circuits. One often overlooked phenomenon is what some call biological silence. This isn't silence in the auditory sense alone, but a state where our body's internal feedback circuits also go quiet. For instance, during deep meditation, the usual cortisol-related stress signals can pause. The heart and breath synchronize, and even the resting cells, like glial cells, engage in more restorative activity. Some neuroscientists speculate that the brain's glymphatic system, responsible for clearing metabolic waste like amyloid proteins, works more efficiently when we are in extended rest, including quiet wakefulness. In short, the biological machinery has evolved to repair and reinforce itself during low activity periods. In many ways, neuroregeneration is the mirror image of brain rot. Just as overload erodes cognitive function, silent recovery rebuilds it. This is why practices like spending quiet time in nature, doing breath work, or even taking long naps can feel so restorative. They are not just emotional escapes, but times when the body and mind regain strength at a cellular level.
Without social media can increase life satisfaction. A dopamine detox allows your reward circuits to reset. Mindful technology use. Turn off non-essential notifications. Use apps that track and limit screen time. Curate your content. Unfollow or mute sources of negativity or overload. The Brain Rot Study recommends actively choosing what tech enters our lives. For example, using social media only at set times or only for specific tasks. Embrace nature's silence. Seek out parks, woods, or lakes where human-made noise is low. Studies show natural soundscapes, bird song, wind in trees, carry different brain responses than city noise. Even urban green spaces offer relief. Nature provides a biological silence that mixes gentle stimuli with calm, a state shown to improve mood and cognitive function. Mindfulness and meditation. Formal meditation, yoga, or breathing exercises train your mind to be still amid chaos. Apps exist, but you needn't use a gadget. Even focusing on your breath for 3 minutes can trigger the relaxation response. Over time, these practices strengthen your ability to find calm independently. Sarah Lazar's study teaches us that regular meditation thickens the hippocampus and thins the amygdala. Quiet creativity. Allocate silent time for tasks that benefit from deep thinking or innovation. Writers, artists, and programmers often use silence or solitary walks for breakthroughs. When your environment quiets down, your default mode network can generate novel ideas. Social practice of silence. Consider adopting silence in social contexts too. Charismatic leaders and thinkers often say more by pausing, letting others think and reflect. Silence can be used as a tool in conversation and problem solving, not just solitude. Implementing these may feel strange at first. After all, silence can feel uncomfortable or even boring if we're unused to it. But discomfort usually signals growth. Over time, patience with stillness becomes a strength, not a weakness. The psychologists Joseph Graney and others note that people often default to silence in conflict because it feels safer than chaos. By proactively seeking silence, we reclaim agency over our mental space. We use it as a skill, like a muscle that grows stronger each time we practice. Finally, consider community or cultural rituals. Group meditation, silent dinners, or digital Sabbath rules, tech-free evenings, can reinforce the habit. Many cross-cultural traditions already enforce nightly quiet or forbidden times for electronics. Embracing silence needn't be a solo crusade. It can be a shared value that connects us to ancestral wisdom.
Universal truth. Stepping back from noise reconnects us to our better selves. Interestingly, these cultures also faced their own technology disruptions of the past, from radio to television, and often responded by carving out times of silence. Today's digital noise is different in degree and kind, but the solution remains the same: balance. Just as citizens of old learned to observe the Sabbath or go offline during certain hours, we too must find our rhythm. It's noteworthy that younger generations worldwide report feeling more stressed and distracted than their parents did. This is not an indictment of technology per se, but a sign that human biology has limits. In cross-cultural terms, our brains are still wired like those of ancient ancestors, even as our lifestyles diverge. Neuroscience research comes largely from diverse participants now, and the findings are nearly universal. Calm focus and social presence improve well-being everywhere. Silence, in its various forms, is healing in any tongue. Global thinkers and authors echo this. The late neurologist Oliver Sacks wrote about the brain's need for quiet, even as clinical practice pushed him to work constantly. Cultural commentators note that despite our differences, people everywhere cherish moments of quiet. Whether it's the sound of rain on a tin roof in the tropics or the hush of early snow in Scandinavia, such moments are cherished. They signify respite, a biological pause for repair. As AI and global media extend everyone's office into our homes, the call for silence grows louder. It is ironic that the very technology that connects us can also isolate our internal lives. Reclaiming silence thus becomes not a retreat from modernity, but a vital adaptation to it. In creating global movements, tech Sabbaths, mindfulness apps that go offline, collective quiet spaces in cities, humanity can build a culture that respects both connectivity and solitude.
That allows innovation to percolate and humanity to stay grounded. The science is clear. Our brains are not meant to run at 100% sensory input all the time. Neuroscience, psychology, and even emerging fields like AI safety all converge on the same insight. Without intentional quiet, we risk eroding our ability to think deeply, feel genuinely, and live healthily. But with silence, we tap into profound regenerative capacities, better memory, lower stress, sharpened creativity. Reflect on the questions. Could turning off devices for an hour transform a day? Can listening to the sound of silence reveal something about ourselves?
What might we achieve if we let our minds rest and wander? These are not just rhetorical, they are the frontier of self-discovery in our era. This book has woven together narratives from cutting-edge studies and timeless wisdom. It does not prescribe dogma, but rather invites each reader to experiment with silence. Let your next notification break be an experiment in stillness. Let a weekend morning be spent without the radio on. Notice how your thoughts settle. In the vast library of the mind, silence is the librarian that whispers, "Here lies your true self. Here is the space to grow." In the end, the silence that heals is as much a personal sanctuary as a global necessity. By finding calm within the storm of information, we find our humanity, clear, creative, and connected to life's deeper rhythms.